It is Wild Card Wednesday, and it is also the 14th anniversary of my YouTube channel. I launched this thing on May 19th, 2007, with a review slash walkthrough of Adventures of Tom Sawyer. So I was kind of wondering for a little while here what I wanted to do on this particular wild card uh, Wednesday. So what I've decided upon was going back to the beginning, the first review I did, Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and just do a little watch along commentary of the video. It's a two-parter. This was back when YouTube had the 10-minute rule. At least I think it was 10 minutes and that you had as a limit when you first started until I don't know, hit some kind of milestone. I really don't remember exactly what it was. I just know at some point I think it extended to 15, and then um I had a limited, or whatever the limit was at the time, extended, so I didn't have to do these two-parters anymore, or three-parters. But at this point, it was a two-parter, and it was it was weird. It was like there's several things about it. I'm just gonna get it started. I'm gonna be watching it on. So this is the relaunched version of it because at some point, like a year after I had released the video, it got taken down by some like I don't know, some automated fishing, some kind of, I don't know, Japanese anime company flagged it as copyright. I had absolutely zero, obviously, uh, footage or use of their material, but the whole uh, fighting a copyright or fighting the strikes or the claims was a bigger pain in the ass back then, and I just didn't feel like it, so I just re-uploaded it instead. Kind of wish that I hadn't, in a way. Like I wish I'd gone through it, just because now it looks like Chippendale Rescue Rangers is my first review, and having the actual video that I had launched still standing would, I don't know, be nice, but it doesn't bother me that much. Anyway, I'm gonna play it from I just skipped over the little few seconds introducing the whole backstory behind the copyright thing striking me down. So here it is, Adventures of Tom Sawyer in all its glory, I guess. This was back when I did this on Adobe Premiere for the first few videos I did, and I did not have the traditional Aqualung intro with the music and the clips. I just had this scroll effect. Welcome to my review of the long-forgotten Adventures of Tom Sawyer on the NES. Alright, so it starts off with the most lame intro of all time. Welcome to my review. This is a theme park or a fucking, the city that you just landed in at the airport. The story in the game is that Tom Sawyer falls asleep in the middle of class and has a dream of going on an adventure to save his crush, Becky Thatcher, who was kidnapped by the evil Injun Joe. So you play as Tom. God, I used to sound so asleep, didn't I? I sounded so asleep. In fact, that whole thing became the gag that was on the Gaming Goose's shout-out video, which helped me out quite a bit. And cheers to the Gaming Goose. Always be thankful for his shout-out vid, where he named me, and he also did a parody of me on his Goose TV video, where he did the whole falling asleep thing with the Adventures of Tom Sawyer clip in the background. And you go around being the little asshole that he is, throwing rocks at people and animals and collecting power-ups. There are 4 different kinds of power-ups. Most of them are marked with the letter T. T's are pretty much equivalent to gathering coins in Super Mario Bros. There's a counter in the upper left-hand corner of the screen that keeps track of how many T's you have. Once you get 20, you earn an extra life. Sometimes you'll find skulls which will wipe out 10 of your T's. heart power-up gives you invincibility for a short period of time. And finally, the slingshot power-up provides you with the temporary ability to fire your rock straight ahead, which gives you more range, but isn't always a good thing, because sometimes you're better off with just your regular arc pattern so you can hit over. Alright, so I just want us to go back a little bit to the whole, like, my monotone delivery. Yeah, at the time I was so, I don't know, I just wanted to make sure I got the information out. That was kind of my thing. I was not even thinking about how my inflection was, and I remember my very first comment, which is gone now because of, you know, the video was taken down. Somebody said, you know, like, oh, good job, very informative, but, you know, you just don't have any enthusiasm. And I'm thinking, oh, Jesus Christ. The first person that watches, I mean, I appreciated the compliment, but I was thinking, oh boy, this is like, is this what it's going to be like here? You know, I'm just going to have a few passers-by come across my channel, and that'll be the end of it. I'll just, you know, because I sound too asleep. I don't know. It took some time before I got more comfortable with the whole thing. Head enemies. Controls are real simple and fluid for the most part. A jumps, B fires the rocks, and you can throw a good amount of rocks at one time. The D-pad, of course, controls your direction from left to right, and down does. The only gripe I have with the controls is the jumping. You don't have too much hang time, and if you decide to change direction once you jump straight up, you don't move very far. You die if you get hit by an enemy just once, which a lot of people seem to find is a flaw in this game. But the enemies aren't overly challenging, so you pretty much just have to be careful. The game would be way too easy if you were given a life bar and could take a few hits. So when you do die, you turn into a puff of smoke, which is a pretty unusual death sequence in a video game, even for Nintendo. Not only do you turn into a cloud of smoke, but your enemies do too. And once you lose all your lives, Tom wakes up from his dream and the game is over. And check it out, the game over screen has the game over text on a cloud. I don't know why the hell clouds are such a big theme in this game. I guess... Wait a minute, how did I finish that sentence? Because cloud bubbles resemble dreams in comics. Yeah, that's exactly... I was gonna say, where am I going with this? You know, why are there clouds? Well, yeah, it's a dream, but you know, before I could correct myself, or interject myself, I ended up just answering the question anyway. That would be incredibly cheesy if that were the case, but I wouldn't put it past him. Well, yeah, it is the explanation. It's the only explanation. 6 levels altogether, all of them pretty. And yeah, cheesiness is, you know, just kind of the business as usual at the time. Look at how fucking pixelated this is. I didn't remember how bad these old videos were. I had, like I said, I did this on Premiere, but my capturing was bad. And this is actually not as bad as some of the games that came out after this. I used for this one video and this one video alone, I didn't use an emulator and capture software. I plugged my Nintendo into a VCR, recorded all the footage on a VHS tape, and then went to my grandmother's house because she had a VHS to DVD converter. I played it back from scratch and converted it to a DVD, and then put the DVD into my computer so I have it there. That was, wow, like talk about a daisy chain of redneck software footage capturing for your game review. That was something. Yeah, a whole process. And at some point during, because I wasn't thinking about like how much of a pain in the ass that would be on the long term. I didn't know how long term this would be. I don't know if I would ever get past video 1. But at some point during the post-production, like during the editing job of this video, was when I started looking into it a little bit more. And, you know, I ended up picking up some, I think I went with Cam Studio for capture for the software, and then and of course the emulators. Anyway, back to the video. Distinct from each other, and the challenge is pretty balanced for the most part. There's a decent variety of enemies in each level, and you hardly ever see an enemy appear at 2 different levels, so you never really get bored with repetition, except for the music. The graphics, on the other hand, are kind of bland and dull. The backgrounds are really plain and lack detail, and the characters and animation look like they were just thrown together in a half-assed effort. The gameplay itself is alright. On the surface, there's really not much to do besides run and fire constantly, but regardless of the simplicity, it's challenging and entertaining enough to keep you occupied if you're bored. Oh yeah, there's also a 2-player mode. Player 2 is Huck Finn, and you alternate between deaths much like in Mario. There's no point system, but the game keeps track of how quickly you finish each stage, so if you're competing, it's a time attack game. Whoever gets through the game fastest wins. Well, that's pretty much covers the basics, so let's start the game up. Okay, the first... Alright, before I start this, the first stage here is the pirate ship. Something I didn't know about until recently is that the Famicom version swapped the first stage with the fifth stage. Oh no, I didn't swap it out. What happened was they put the pirate ship stage at level 5, and then they started you right off with the rafting stage at level 2, and then they went up from there until they hit the pirate ship toward the end, which is you know, it's just weird to me because the pirate level is, I mean, it makes sense. It always makes sense to me as a first stage, as an opener. The rafting stage, the second stage, I thought was a lot tougher, and just the whole, you know, you're in slow motion and you've got shit coming at you from the sides. It's definitely more difficult, and not a good intro stage to, especially since you're not going to be using that mechanic, that overhead view, at any point in the rest of the game. So, you know, I think it made more sense in the American version. First level is the pirate ship, and it's a perfect example of the game's plain, boring-ass graphics. The colors are so mono, and like I said before, there's not much detail. Pirates are easy, they just walk slowly and jump into the air. They have weapons too, both knives and guns, but they never use either of them. They just lumber towards you and hope to walk right into you. Kind of pisses me off too, because pirates are supposed to be badass, but in this game they're just a bunch of stumbling drunks. There's a fat rat mini-boss that fires what looks like sound waves at you. Yeah, no, was there, I don't know if, because I haven't played the Famicom version, I wonder if there were any differences with the, with the game, like, if they fired the guns, maybe they did, maybe they threw the fucking swords, maybe this stage was definitely more difficult, and then they dumbed it down, they toned it down so that this could be a more suitable first stage. I guess his squeaks are so loud that they kill you. This rat also has the amazing ability to float and turn invisible. Just hit him twice and duck underneath his shrieks of death. Right after you fight him, you climb down to the bottom level of the ship below sea level. Now I think this floor of the ship is flooded with water because the baby octopus appears to be swimming. But you run and jump at the same speed as on land, so being underwater doesn't slow Tom down at all. Anyway, the octopus is attacking both. And not only that, but the rats are, you know, they're not swimming around or anything, and they're not the whole proverbial, you know, drowning, trapped like a rat in a sinking ship. Yeah, I don't know what's happening here. Shooting ink and slowly swimming towards you. They shoot two different color variations of ink at you. The dark ink covers you, turning you navy blue. And if you get hit with the dark ink while covered, you die. Now if you get hit with the light ink while covered, it cleans the ink off of you, but the light ink kills you if you're not covered. Whatever, just duck underneath the ink and attack him from behind. The main boss is probably the most pathetic. Yeah, it's weird that it even exists, that the ink, because it doesn't do anything to you. It doesn't slow you down, it doesn't hinder your jumping. I don't think there's any, you know, you only take one hit, and you still only take one hit. So, I don't know why they even bothered with that whole ink thing. In the history of video games. It's a giant octopus, and it looks impressive enough, but it doesn't do anything. It just stands there and sends its children after you. Not only is this octopus a lazy bastard for not attacking, or even moving, he forces his offspring into battle. So much for that Father of the Year award he was up for. All you have to do is repeatedly hit him in the eyes, and since he doesn't move, you don't have to move either. To make it even more easy, the kids don't even attack until you get your first hit in. They just swim around his head in synchronized fashion. Look, I'm not even doing anything, and they're just swimming around his head. And I definitely, you know, because I could not recapture any footage. A lot of times when I after I record the narration and I'm editing, I realize, oh shit, you know, like I needed to get a little bit more here. I missed something completely that I need to talk about. And then you know, that's one of the great things about save states with the emulators is you can easily go back to, like, you know, the end of the game, for example, if you need something toward the end. But I recorded this on a VHS tape. I only had one shot, so I think I definitely took my time with. I didn't want to go in and just kick the game's ass, because I needed to maximize the amount of footage that I had for situations like this. I want to say I don't really remember. I definitely did that as far as standing there. I think I took a lot of notes while I was playing, because you know I don't know, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I'm doing this for the first time, so I was trying to be as thorough as I could. I don't remember being too conscious of the whole, like, you know, running into that problem in post production, because I never had been in post production before. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely right there was an example of me just standing there letting them fly around the octopus's head. That was definitely an example of that.
Their attack is lame anyway. They slow down and glide over towards you ever so gently. Easy targets for your rocks.
I don't know why the screen keeps flashing and, like, the it all darkens up and everything gets distorted. I don't remember it coming out like that, even in the re-upload.
Somehow you fight him long enough, or just stand there and wait. Eventually the daddy octopus pulls his head out of his ass and actually does attack by firing a huge wad of ink at you that you can't avoid. I know that this is...
That was what, you know what, now I remember. It was that fucking ink splatter. I definitely was conscious of that ink attack. I needed to get it on there. I need to get footage of it, so I stood there. And then I think afterwards, when I was watching the footage back, I, you know, made a point of him just not doing anything until like 5 minutes into the fight.
The boss of the first level and everything, so he's supposed to be easy. But goddamn, they could have made it a little more challenging. Well, if you want,
and that's another thing too. If this was the 5th level in the Famicom version, then that's I mean, okay, so he's basically the Glass Joe of this game. Why the hell would he have been the 5th boss? Unless he's, you know, those ink attacks come in quicker, and maybe the octopi are a little more dangerous. I don't know, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen it or played that game. That version of the game, so I don't know. I'm not gonna cast judgment necessarily.
The river stage is what you're looking for. In this stage, you row a raft of river in an overhead view, so you've got to get used to a whole different layout. The controls aren't quite as fluid as the side-scrolling levels. Moving left and right isn't so bad, but moving up and down is considerably slower. On top of that, the screen automatically scrolls up, and you have to keep up with it at all times. If you get caught in front of a piece of land and the screen catches up to you, you're dead. Now, the music in this game is repetitive, but the song on the river stage is about as monotonous as it gets. Listen to it. That's it, over and over again. You've got to contend with some weird shit in this level, like logs, slow-weaving chunks of land.
Well, I guess that's a spoiler alert if I ever do the ranking the soundtrack of this game. That the river stage will not be in the top 3. I don't think. No. In fact, absolutely not.
Giant frogs, whirlpools, and a string of black balls. These flying blue birds fly around in circles because they're on PCP. Now the funny thing is, in the manual, these birds are referred to as black penguins. Black penguins? For one thing, they're blue, and secondly, they fly, which isn't a technique penguins are famous for. The manual also says that this little prick that throws rocks at you is a boy named Ricky, that has some kind of grudge against Tom. Look at this kid, he's like half my size. Why can't I just park my raft on the shore and kick his ass? He's annoying as hell, too, so...
There's also a lot of Rickies. I mean, I'm guessing he's chasing him down. Am I gonna say this right after? I haven't watched this video in a long time. I don't really watch my own shit. So... I'm about to surprise myself, potentially, here.
You want to pelt him with your rocks, but you can never get a shot at him because he's way off to the side. Fortunately, you can't reach him when he appears the first time. The boss of this river is a giant crocodile.
Yeah, so I didn't mention it. So yeah, Ricky has a lot of clones, or he teleports.
And you'll never be able to guess his attack. Whirlpools. He sends whirlpools at you. Croc weaves back and forth and opens his mouth while the mini whirlpools come. Swerve back and forth and throw the rocks at him when his mouth is open. You only seem to get hits after you hit him with a few rocks consecutively and have them hit the center of his mouth. So it can get pretty frustrating, but as long as you fire repeatedly, you should be able to connect. After several hits, he's all done. The third level is the forest stage, which thankfully brings us back to side-scrolling. Another good thing about this level is you get a lot of teas, especially from these slug things, because they always travel in pairs and there's quite a few of them. They tried a little bit harder with the graphics in this level, adding some mountains and trees and whatnot, but the sky is still blank and overall it's nothing amazing. When you get to the first body of water, jump up and grab onto this.
You know, I don't find myself doing that too much, talking about, you know, my, like, I don't really evaluate the game too much anymore during the walkthrough. I find, like, now I separate the two a lot more, where the review is just strictly, you know, my opinion of the game, and then the walkthrough is completely, not 100% of the time. I'll definitely, you know, if there's a really frustrating moment, you know, I'll kind of go back to it, but I won't, like, step aside and say, oh, yeah, so check out the graphics. Unless it's something that's, you know, like I said, really stands out as far as whether good or bad or whatever. But seem to have been doing more of that at this time. Still honing the craft, you know, still you know, not that this was a bad thing or anything like that, but I just, you know, I found myself changing the formula up quite a bit.
Pelican will take you a little bit down the level, which is a pretty big help in avoiding all that shit down there. Here's a little Easter egg. Stand here and fire at this mushroom. When you hit the center, a leprechaun will appear and give you an extra life. It's pretty random and not much to do with the Tom Sawyer story, but the game designers can always fall back on the fact that this is a dream. One cool thing about that extra life is that the checkpoint is right around where the pelican drops you off, so if you die right around here, you can come back and get the extra life again. In fact, you can commit suicide at about this spot, come back, grab a bunch of teas and the extra life, and eventually get as many lives as you want, but it is time consuming. Down the road, you end up jumping from branch to branch on these trees with all these little monkeys wearing sunglasses that kind of resemble Ozzy Osbourne's annoying son, Jack. And that makes
that's right, I threw a little jab at Jack Osbourne. Fuck him.
Even more, because that kid is the biggest tool on the planet. But it's easier not to engage in combat with them. Stay at the top branch on the right side of each tree and wait for them to head for lower ground before you advance. The end boss is pretty weird. A bunch of these Jack Osbourne monkeys form a pyramid and take form of a giant gorilla. Why couldn't it just be a gorilla without the little monkeys? Oh well. Stand back and shoot at his face.
Yeah, that's another weird thing. I mean, I know it's a dream, but it's like, what was the whole deal behind that pyramid of monkeys that transform, and then was it just so that way? You know, the only thing I can think of is that they wanted to have the black background, and the only reason why it happened was because this whole thing is a hallucination of some kind. You know, why not just put you in a cave? Well, there's a cave at the end of the game, but I don't know, do something. Maybe a day-to-night transition. I'm asking too much of this.
He spits out several balls of fused together piles of shit overhead that come down towards you in several different patterns, most of which are easily avoided by heading over to the left side of the screen. This gorilla is also a lot like the horse in The Wizard of Oz, as it changes from purple to green to orange after a couple hits each.
Well, that's a gorilla of a different color.
After you take them out, the Jack Osbourne monkeys run away and you're now halfway through the game.
Alright, well, moving on to part 2. Alright, yeah, so I had a little disclaimer. Quote-unquote copyright infringement.
The fourth level is the haunted house, and as generic and cliche as a haunted house level is, it's one of the better stages. It's the best looking level, it has the best song in the game, and it's probably the most fun.
Does the volume go down? I don't know, it just sounds a little quieter.
All the stereotypical scary enemies are in place. Skeletons, bats, mummy men, witches, and a ghost wearing a hoodie that drops balls at you.
I'm gonna turn the volume up just a bit.
there are 2 mini-bosses in this stage.
I don't know if that affected the playback, you know, the recording of it.
The first is the skeleton warrior who carries a sword and fires some shiny projectile at you. Be ready to jump or duck when he winds up the fire and then kill him. The second mini-boss is the witch I previously mentioned. She takes 4 hits.
Damn, I missed almost every shot there.
Stand on this platform and hit her as she swirls in your direction. She attacks with this fiery ball that twirls and falls straight down. All you have to do is change places when she pauses to attack. After you finish off the witch, stand here and throw your rocks at this Reaper painting, hitting in the mouth area a few times. The little fairy flies out with the painting and waves her wand at the mirror to reveal Becky, the girl that Tom's trying to save, and you get an extra life. The main boss is a giant demon, but doesn't it just look like a statue of a demon?
Wow, I skipped over the whole, like, last third of the stage. I mean, I guess there wasn't really anything different. There were spiders. You know, some pits and things. It wasn't a lot there. I think the spiders were the only new enemy introduced at that part of the level. But yeah, I completely glossed over it. It wasn't long, and of course the mini bosses were like the big talking points. But I'm still kind of surprised that I didn't mention, at least get a little bit of that area.
Well, it essentially is because it barely ever moves. Its weakness is the head of its staff, which is pretty easy to hit when you can. It lifts the staff up to summon this mini devil bat at you, which flies around, but it can only hurt you if you jump into it. But you have to jump in order to hit him, so that's how you pretty much the only way you can die from it. And you've got to worry about these little gremlin things that the bat summons. Thankfully, you can just let it run across the screen, but be careful jumping over them because you might collide with the bat and die. The bat takes 2 hits to die, and you have to kill him in order to attack the staff again. If you get enough hits right away, you should be able to finish it off no problem after killing the bat only once. The 5th level is up in the sky, and you gotta love the cheesy rainbows and the white trees that are growing out of the clouds. Not to mention these freaky looking animated head-shaped clouds. And is it a surprise that the clouds are being put to so much use? So, the first nemesis of this stage is a pair of Hershey Kisses that fall out of the sky.
I forgot, you know, I was thinking Hershey Kisses too, before I said it, and I was like, am I gonna call them Hershey Kisses in this video? I haven't changed much, I guess, in the last 14 years. I don't know. My head's still in the same place. I don't know if, you know, for better or worse.
It's supposed to be hail, but they look like Hershey Kisses, and they look so friendly. So you're just walking around and these birds fly overhead, nothing to worry about. What the fuck? These birds are almost guaranteed to kill you the first time you play this game because you're not expecting them to just turn around and fly at full speed from behind like that. Keep your eyes peeled.
That's another thing I don't do anymore is act like I'm playing the game, like throw in this reaction like as if I was actually playing it just now. I don't know, it's not anything I definitely don't think that I consciously took that away. I think it was just a natural thing.
These annoying assholes and duck. When you see the red balloon, grab it. You don't want to have to contend with these clouds that fire lightning up your ass. When you see the puffy head clouds, watch out for the green dragons. They swoop down really fast, then slowly fly off screen. If you run too fast, they'll nail you on their way down, so take your time through this portion. If they get off screen, they'll suddenly come back and spit fire at you, so try to kill them before they get off screen. Then you encounter this annoying mini-boss, this little douche.
This motherfucker. I was stuck on this piece of shit kid longer than any other part of the game by far. And I don't even know, it's like I thought that I wasn't getting any hits in on him. Like I thought that my attacks didn't count. I don't know. Maybe I talk about it here in a second.
On a cloud with a red turban and leopard skin pants jostling pink balls. You know, just in case we haven't had enough of the clouds, they put this little shithead on one. When I played this game as a kid, I was stuck on this spot for so long.
Yep.
Because I'd attack from the cloud or from the middle or something. He moves in a box pattern.
Yeah, I just didn't get. I couldn't buy myself enough time to keep away from him. I was always. I don't know what it was about this cloud. I always gravitated towards it.
It lightning attacks will always head in your direction. He takes a few hits, so if you try to attack from the little cloud or from the center, odds will not be in your favor. But if you stand in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, he can't touch you no matter where he goes or fires. When he bolts towards your corner, either from across or diagonally, jump up and fire. After you're done with him, you have to battle the main boss of this level. You grab onto this balloon, which puts you in this little cloud-shaped thing that fires diamonds, and you face off against an enormous goddamn heavily armed Zeppelin. Well, here's the objective. All you have to do is shoot down the engine of the ship at the tail end of it. But you gotta get past all these guns trying to shoot your ass down first. Hit the square guns as soon as they open their shields to fire. The gun down below sliding across that wire only fires up, so get low if you don't take it out from above. The guns on top will fire up and down diagonally, so if you stay level with it, they can't touch you. To finish this blimp off, you fly up to the engine and just fire at it. The Zeppelin will go down like the Hindenburg, although we don't get to see it happen, the screen just goes dark.
So, what the fuck was I gonna say? I feel completely. I was just. Right at the beginning of the Zeppelin battle, I had a thought, and I was like, I'm just gonna let this play out first before I go back into it. And now I don't remember what the hell it was. Oh, now I don't. Now I remember. The whole theme of me being sleepy back then, and more monotone even than more so than I am now. So years later I did a Let's Play of this game on the anniversary. So now it's the anniversary of that Let's Play too. I don't know. I think it might have been like 9 or 10 years ago. Not really sure exactly, but yeah, it might have been the 10th anniversary. Whatever. It was an anniversary, and I played it, and I would drink a beer after each level. So 6 beers at the end of 6 levels. That's a pretty good buzz, but it shouldn't be enough to make me completely incoherent and fuck up my reaction time or anything like that. But the thing was, I recorded the shit at like 3. Well, by the time it ended, it was like 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, some shit like that. So I was just as sleepy as I friggin' sounded in this walkthrough. So it was pretty fitting. It was pretty fitting to have it, have that go down like that. Completely unintentional.
Okay, so 5 down and 1 to go. The cave is the final level in the game, and keep in mind that unlike the previous 5 levels, this one has no checkpoint whatsoever. So even if you get killed by the final boss, you have to start at the beginning. Since you have infinite continues, it doesn't matter how many
these things, and this isn't there's no good
lives you have. So
oh shit. I went into full screen. Let me back this up. So yeah, alright, this isn't bad. This platform, these rocks, I always had this, I don't know, my imagination got the better of me. This always, I can't unsee it because I saw these rocks as toes, and this is like a foot. This is the sole of the foot right here, and these are the toes at the end. I'll just, back this up a little bit.
The beginning. Since you have infinite continues.
Yeah, there's a whole row of feet right here. Every time I go past it, I can't unsee it.
So since there's no need for extra lives, don't worry about T's and skulls. They're essentially useless. Just run through every power-up. It doesn't matter. When you get to this waterfall, stay close to the left and jump up to each platform while keeping away from the center to avoid the piranhas. These piranhas are...
I know that when I first played this game, I did this. I went up on the left side. I think because the fish started coming up, I naturally try to stay away from them, so I was always going to the left. So, and then you exit up the left to leave. So I've never been on these platforms in my life, and I just imagine like how much of I don't know, I guess, because I imagine it's tougher to get up there, and how disheartening it is to get up to the top and realize that you're on the wrong side and have to cross back over again.
Insane. They not only jump out of the waterfall and plummet to the rocks below, sacrificing themselves to get a bite of this random kid. They also jump up while the waterfall was trying to take them down. You don't want to mess with these piranhas, man. They defy the laws of physics. Unfortunately, in the game, they're much easier than they sound. As long as you stay toward the left, they shouldn't hit you. When you get to the ledge, leap off as far left as you can to ensure that you won't collide with that white snake. Now, it may look exactly like the snakes from the forest level, but these guys never die. If you hit it, it'll just fire a clone snake at you, which will fall right off the screen. Keep your eye on the snake above you. There's another snake underneath.
Yeah, that was another example of me making sure I got the footage of them cloning up.
That is almost in sync with the one up there. So wait until it gets all the way to the right and let yourself slip off the left side safely. Then slip off this edge and continue to ignore these snakes, and you're almost there. Right before the final battle, you got this sub-boss battle with 5 of these off-peach colored dragons that spit purple fire. Don't let that fruity color scheme fool you though. These dragons are tough as shit, probably the most challenging part of the whole game. They'll attack from above, below, the middle, it doesn't matter to them. They never attack with the same pattern. Fortunately, you'll never see more than 2 on the screen at once, but you always have to be alert because you never know where they're going to come from. They'll pop out of nowhere and spit fire before retreating, or they'll fly clear.
This part is now, I mean, you know, after that Cloud Kid was the part of the game that I was stuck at for the longest amount of time, but this part is the most difficult part of the game now for me. It's, you know, these guys are relentless. I mean, it's not too hard. It's, you know, the game is very fair with its difficulty. I shouldn't say like this is like this really incredibly difficult thing, but relatively speaking for this game, you know, this is the most difficult part of the game.
Across the screen, if they make it off screen, they'll attack from that side too. So you could very well end up having dragons coming from either side and you won't know which one. Plus you gotta kill all 5 of them. They all start off on the right side, so if you can keep them from passing off screen, then it'll be a lot easier. Stand on this middle platform and don't attack the one up top unless he's already spat fire and there's no danger of jumping. And if the one that's level with you comes charging, the best bet is to simply jump over him.
And this is the one enemy, so the slingshot you get from one particular enemy in each stage. And for the slingshot in the cave, you get it only here, and this is the last enemy or enemies before Injun Joe at the end. And I don't think the slingshot is very effective on Injun Joe, and it definitely isn't for these dragons, because you know they're at all parts, all areas of the screen. They come from the top, the bottom, the sides, the center. They're you know you want to have that arc pattern so you have more range and flexibility rather than having to line yourself up and get yourself in the line of fire. You can fire from, you know, you can target them and stay out of their attack range at the same time.
Anytime you kill one, they leave a slingshot, which you definitely do not want.
See, like that guy down there, I had no chance. I would have slip down and get to him.
The worst slingshot you can get in the whole game.
And there I go again. See, I feel like I'm watching a football game or something, and then I make so often when I'm watching football or more so football than any other sport, but watching football and then I'll say something and then the commentator says it right after. I'm like, why am I not doing this for a living?
If you can only fire straight, then you severely cut down the amount of dragons within reach. After finally taking them all down, there's nothing between you and Injun Joe now.
Did I not mention that jump?
So here he is, equipped with bow
I didn't. Alright, so there is one thing between you and Injun Joe. This back a little, come on.
Cut down the amount of dragons within reach. After finally taking them all down, there's nothing but...
Yeah, right here. This jump. This is what's between you and Injun Joe. After, you know, getting through that dragon battle, you still got to jump over this. And I distinctly remember in the Let's Play where I had a hard time with those dragons. I finally beat them, and then I go to make my jump and, whoops, fall into the fiery pits of hell. Oh, man. That's, you know, that needs no explanation.
Between you and Injun Joe now. So here he is, equipped with bow and arrow and riding the Loch Ness Monster. It's kind of funny how after battling oversized mutants, possessed demon statues, and a heavily armed 500-foot zeppelin, you think Injun Joe would have a little more tricks up his sleeve than a bow and arrow. It's pretty easy too. All you have to do is run up to him and hit him in the kneecaps with a barrage of rocks. You might even be able to finish him off before he fires off any arrows. But if you get too many hits in, stand back and wait for him to fire his arrow, then rush in and attack. It's a total of 8 shots to finish him off. So, after defeating Injun Joe, you steal 3 feathers that fell off his cap on the way down. Then Becky appears on Nessie's head out of nowhere, and she leaps about 20 feet to the ground, doesn't get hurt at all, and makes out with Tom. She better put out after all that bullshit you had to go through.
Whoa! I'm talking about children having sex with each other. That's fucked up.
Notice the monster's expression changed from frowning during the battle to smiling after it's over. Turns out Injun Joe brainwashed it into helping him kill Tom. So anyway, after swapping spit with Becky, Tom wakes up from his dream only to find 3 feathers on his desk, indicating that it really wasn't a dream, or at least leaving the question mark at the end. But either way, if you read the manual, you already know that this is how it ends because they give it away. If I hadn't already known what was going to happen, this ending wouldn't have felt so flat. And there aren't any credits either, so no love for the programmers and designers who helped put this thing together. Oh well. On the whole, this is a pretty satisfactory game. It's not a masterpiece by any means, but the stages are long and challenging enough. Nothing's really repetitive except the music, and overall it's pretty fun and keeps you entertained. So, until next time.
And there it was. This was the beginning of it all, where I decided to go with the letter grade option. This is something if I had to start again, I would have changed. You know, I think I would do something a little, maybe a 1 through 5 star system, where there aren't so many, you know, there isn't so much fucking range. You know, it's like that now. It's like, okay, well, I gave one game a B- and another one a B. Like, yeah, I'd rather just have it a little, I don't know, like, you know, just a little simpler, I guess. So it's like I don't have to really think about how I'm factoring it in. And there are some games that I'm not happy with my choice either. Like, for example, DuckTales, I gave it a B+, and it really, I don't know why the hell it's not an A- or an A. You know, I mean, the only thing that I'm not even gonna go into. I'm not gonna get into a whole rant about that. But you know, I started with the letter grade, and I said, all right, well, I guess this is what I'm doing now. I'm not gonna change it at this point. Yeah. So anyway, there's a couple more seconds. That's it. So there you have it. That was the very first video review that I ever made, and this was the first time I watched it in a long time, and you know, I must say that I'm not as I came into this a little skeptical. I do remember one thing I remembered going into this, you know, little commentary was the beginning. Not the little, I mean, I do remember the intro sequence being different, but the first words out of my mouth, "Welcome to this review." So stupid. I know that most of my videos have the, you know, bland Wikipedia entry style of a fucking intro where I just, you know, I say, oh, this game was released at this time by this company, whatever. But you know, it's like that. There's nothing really creative behind that. But I mean, that's just. I feel like that's just, you know, how I like to start my fucking videos. You know, I'm not. I mean, I guess I'm, you know, in a way entertaining, trying to keep it a balance of entertainment and informative ness. Anyway, so that's it. That's the video. That's the end of the the very first review I ever did. And here's to another 14 years maybe. See you next time.